Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Real Money Podcast, the only podcast where an active, top producing real estate agent teaches you how to make real money in real estate. Today, I have a very special guest and one of our referral mate partners, Donnie Crouch. Donnie is the vice president of sales at realty.com, and he is probably one of the best in the world at understanding cash offers. Realty.com, a lot of their business is dependent on cash offers. And as everybody knows on Referral Mate, we have a lot of cash offer opportunities. And something that we've been, messing up on our end is we're not giving agents enough understanding of how to work these deals and work these leads. So that's obviously why you're here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited to jump into it and clarify a lot that is surrounding cash offer leads. So super excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess to start it off, could you just give, maybe 30 seconds on what a cash offer is? Because something that I originally got was I thought cash offers were always people that are extremely desperate. And I always thought, why would anybody in the world take a cash offer for their home, which is typically less than market value? But could you just clarify that it's not always people that are super desperate or have beat up houses? Could you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the education of the consumer, right? You can compare them, or at least I like to compare them a lot of times, at least mindset-wise, to for sale by owners, to where ultimately all it is a consumer that's trying to get the best terms that are agreeable to, ultimately get their home sold. And so what we see a lot of times, to your point, is that they're not all distressed. A lot of them just think that they're going to get more money, or that it's going to be hassle-free and they're not going to have, a ton of showings they have to deal with, or back and forth negotiations. And simply put, a lot of people just think that they're saving on commission, similar to that of a for sale by owner, to where they think I can do it myself. So with a lot of them, it's just meeting the consumer where they're at. It's not always trying to convince them that a cash offer is not best for them. It's more so, you want a cash offer, I can certainly provide you with one. And then while we're there, let's talk about all the other options available to, ultimately sell your home for the best terms agreeable to you.
And that's actually the perfect segue into my next question. Is something else that I had wrong when I learned about, the cash offer side of things is I thought I don't have the cash to give these people, whether they're buying a $200 or selling a $250,000 house or a $5 million house. I don't have the cash to give them a cash offer. I know a lot of realtors that will be listening to this, that's a big part of their business, is they already understand where to get those offers from and that money from. But where could the average agent say, hey, this is this is an actual cash offer for your home? How could we be providing that to the homeowners when we meet them?
Yeah, I think the easiest way, and I don't recommend necessarily sticking with this for the life of your career, get out, network, and meet people that are investors, and there's plenty of ways you could do that. But immediately to get started, there are countless cash offer companies out there. OfferPad, Open Door, Homewards, Delia, there's a ton. I could go on and on and on. And it's as simple as going into Google or ChatGPT and searching up, cash offer companies that service your area. So everybody has access to a cash offer at the end of the day. And with a lot of those larger companies, for those that might not be as familiar, the model for most of them is they'll buy that property in cash, right? And then they turn around and they'll list that property with you for effectively finding and facilitating that deal. So creates a win-win scenario, and it's a great way to get started in the cash offer space.
I actually just saw that OfferPad, I believe. You probably know better than I do, but OfferPad just started really publicly marketing that if realtors are bringing them deals, I think they're paying commission up front and then usually giving you the listing back on the back end. So that's basically no risk. It's agents can get commissioned. I don't know if it's set in stone every time that you get the listing back after they purchase it, but I'm sure you have better insight on that than I do.
Yeah, every program's a little bit different. So I do encourage people to do their research and see what works well for their particular market. The standard model in today's landscape is just a traditional listing. So the company buys it, turns around and lists it with, the agent for their commission. There's a lot of them that pay referral fees or have different upfront incentives for finding the deal in addition to the listing back. Ultimately, it all comes down to the consumer, though, and trying to find them the best terms. Most people, statistically speaking, are not going to accept that cash offer. So the first step is just ensuring that you can get one and it's a company that you're familiar with and comfortable presenting their offer. But definitely, do your research and see what works best for your marketplace, because I've heard great things about all of the companies that we've mentioned so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that maybe I got ahead of myself with, was just always going like, Open Door, OfferPad. I think they're great companies. I mean, they're public companies, so I think it's kind of hard to go public with being a bad company.
Yeah.
But like you said, actually networking, actually meeting those people, rather than just driving past all the bandit signs on the side of the street, is actually calling those investors, because those people, not only could you get cash offers for your sellers, you could also just connect with them in business. And I think that's something that's overlooked a lot. Is ever since COVID, at least for me, it's like I tend to avoid the in-person stuff. It's never easy to get out there and meet a bunch of new people, but I think that's something agents overlook all the time, is just actually working with the local investors, because from what I've seen, agents and investors are always on separate pages. Like, investors don't like agents don't like investors, because they think we're taking deals from each other. We're actually not. If we're able to work together on these deals, it is a no-brainer all day long, because you don't have to go to a billion-dollar company. You could go to a person down the street that also has deals for you. And with that, do you have any tips on just, actually getting out into the public and doing that? Because especially as a new agent, everything feels so scary. I remember when I first started, I was scared to cold call. I was scared to door knock. I was scared to do anything. So any thoughts on that? Because I know you've been all around the whole country networking.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing attractive about the methods that I'm going to share. It's just doing the work, doing the boring work consistently. And that's a lot of what I preach, regardless of what the topic may be. For people starting out that may be intimidated to go to various investor conferences and things like that, it could be as simple as joining Facebook groups. That's something that I do to this day, just to network, meet new agents, meet new investors across the country. There are a ton of Facebook groups. If you just go and search investor groups, most of you guys are going to be able to find local investors that will share deals. But aside from that, going to things like auctions, investor conferences. I love going to investor conferences. These are very low cost of entry to really get in a network and meet these people. For a lot of these investor networks, you can spend at most a few $100 and go meet people that could really change the trajectory of your business. So going back to what I said before, if you're a new agent starting with those companies that we mentioned, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But there's a ton of value and power behind really knowing the investor and trusting the investor and having somebody local that you know and trust, as you put.
Yeah, and that's with the local investors. I know I said this before, you answered, but agents always think like the investors take the deals and then the investors think the agents take the deals. Some of my largest clients have just been repeat investors, and originally I thought I can't talk to those guys because they're trying to wholesale my deal or they're trying to get it for a steal, but it's really not like that. Realistically, like you said, if there's people out there doing the work, why not work together? So that's something that has really helped me, especially last year, dipping into working with investors. And the best part is they usually buy in cash. Like with these cash offers, they are cash offers. It's not financed, not with the banks. It's usually quick. But sort of changing gears a little bit, you guys generate hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of leads per year. I think you said the number was around 800,000 last year, which is unbelievable. With that, what percentage of them are actually getting converted when the agent does the proper follow-up? Because I've always said the fortune's in the follow-up, but a lot of times you get discouraged after one or two messages. Let's say agent A follows up 15 times with one client compared to agent B who follows up one time. What is the difference there? Because I know that's something we've talked about a lot in the past.
Yeah, I mean, your average agent, we could jump into statistics and I could talk about this for hours. Your average agent is going to give up after about 3 attempts. They're going to call the lead, text the lead, email the lead, and then they'll throw them on some sort of a nurture campaign. That's kind of the deferment that a lot of agents will do. They'll throw them on a drip campaign and hope that they respond to their emails, which we know very rarely do they. With the statistics right now, it really shows you need to get up around 15 to 17 contact attempts, and that's a combination of calling, texting, and emailing. Calling will always be king. It always will be. Obviously, you want in-person appointments. Texting is certainly valuable there. You have to have the correct messaging with the text messages. I know a lot of agents will do automated text through their CRM. I have differing opinions on that. Number one, it sounds silly, but we have real data that shows if you're texting through a CRM, The text message to an iPhone will always be green. And people associate that with a bot, not a real person. And so the response rate on that is significantly lower. In addition to that, the first automated text that you send out will always have in big letters. If you like to opt out, say stop or whatever. We have had so many leads that will opt out of one of our partners' very first texts, and then our ISA will get them on the phone 10 minutes later and transfer it back over to that person, right? So it's just instinctively. Yeah, exactly.
Person on the other end of a phone call or a personalized text, like, for example, anytime I get a lead, I just try to lean into as much as I know about that person right away. Like, I have their address, I have their home, I have, the street view. So I can comment on those things in the beginning rather than just, hey, I saw you submitted your information, reply stop to stop. No one's answering that. But if you could actually get as personal as possible, chances are you could convert that person, especially when they're online. You can't wait 5 hours to message them because they're obviously going through realty.com, but they might be going through 2 or 3 other sites at the same time. So if you could catch them right away, I think speed to lead is extremely important, if not the most important, but then also being human rather than just, reply stop to stop.
Yeah. Now, you hit the nail right on the head. Speed to lead is the most important of anything. You can master the best scripts in the world, objection handling, but if you're calling the leads even 10, 15, 20 minutes after they're generated, I forget the exact percentage, it's some crazy drop-off in conversion, like 300% or something crazy.
Yeah, I think it's 80% after 90 seconds, which is insane.
Yeah. So speed to lead is critical. A lot of agents will overthink the leads, right? In general, not just us, but for any lead. And they'll sit there and they'll text them first or they'll email them first. Call the lead. Pick up the phone, call the lead, and you will figure it out, I promise. You're going to make mistakes. You can't be afraid to make those mistakes and trip over yourself. But as long as you're hitting the speed to lead metrics and the amount of touch points necessary, you will maximize your conversion. So, from our standpoint, I really track 2 things. Transaction rate of the leads, and then the average conversion, because those are not the same. Transaction rate is just purely we generate X leads, what percentage of them end up selling their home. What we're seeing right now is anywhere from a quarter to a third, so 25 to 33% of our seller leads will list their homes within 18 months or sooner.
Wow.
Question becomes,
is amazing.
Yep, and the question becomes, who do they list with? And that's where, as you put it, Agent A calls once or twice, Agent B calls 15 times. That's the difference maker. So we have partners that are doing 15 to 20% conversion. We have partners that are doing 1 to 5%. The average, if I had to average it, would be about 5 to 10% is what I'm typically seeing.
And that's, even at that, that's 1 out of 10. And you guys are generating millions of leads per year being sent directly to agents. So it's not really, how could realty.com, how could Donnie, how could they provide me, 10 times more leads? It's how could I follow up 10 times more with the people I have? And realistically, especially with, whether you have a VA or you have an assistant, or even you just sit there at the beginning of the week and text people, it's not that much. And when I first started, this might sound a little bit harsh, but when I first started, I was scared of doing the work. Like you said, the phone calls were scary. The people actually picking up. I would call people and I'd be actually like hoping, kind of crossing my fingers that they didn't pick up, because I'm like, I don't know what to say. I have this little script on paper, but I know I'm not going to read it, or I'm going to stumble over my words. And pretty quickly I've realized, like, it doesn't need to be a perfect script. It just needs to be quick. You obviously don't want to sound like, for lack of better terms, a dummy, but as long as you have a base knowledge, you know who they are, you know their name, you know their address, and in this situation, they're looking for a cash offer. You have more than enough. You don't need to memorize scripts or watch 200 YouTube videos. You just need to call. And I think, if you guys take anything away from this podcast, call as fast as possible. As soon as you get the person's information, call them. If my style is, if they don't answer on the first time, I call them right back right away. I don't know if that's your style. I do a double call, leave a voicemail on the second one if they don't answer, and then I just start texting, call the next day. And again, it's just a follow-up game. People say that real estate is a numbers game. I agree, but not just by getting who gets the most leads. It's who follows up the most with their leads.
Yep, I could not agree more. The double tap, that is super effective. I think it's funny because I coach on it all the time. When you first get a lead, call them, they don't answer, call them right back a second time. People get me with that all the time. I'll have people trying to sell me stuff, and it's just like curiosity of, maybe this is important. Who is this? It's just about getting them on the phone, and that's a great method. So couldn't agree more.
I agree. And, I know the scripts are not the most important. thing. Speed to lead is way more important than scripts, but you should at least have like a baseline knowledge when you're calling these people. Something, let's say when I was cold calling to get listings as a realtor, I would always call people and I would never make it specifically about that person. If let's say I was cold calling you, Donnie, I would call you and I would say, hey, I have a buyer looking in Cleveland, Ohio. I know you're not looking to sell, but do you know anybody in your community that has talked to you about selling? Because I have a ready-to-go buyer that's looking to buy in, 72115. I don't even know what that zip code is, but hypothetically. That transitioned their mind from, this person isn't cold calling me. This person promised their client they would call, and they're just asking if I know neighbors. That worked extremely well for me when I was cold calling for listings. But now when I'm cold calling, whether it's for, I don't even want to say cold calling, if I'm calling a lead, whether it's a cash offer or somebody who comes through my CRM, I always try to guide the conversation. For example, I don't pick up the phone, and I know some people coach on this. I just see it differently. A lot of people will call somebody and say, hi, is this Donnie? And what I've realized is in their mind, they're probably thinking, is this the cops? Is this my kid's principal? Am I in trouble? Did someone steal my car? Like, who's on the other side? And I've noticed they feel very defensive. So I just kind of intro, hey, this is Jacob. I'm with Referral Mate. I just got your information. Just wanted to get in touch and confirm, blah, 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 and take it from there. Do you agree with that, or do you have a completely different style?
I couldn't agree more. And that's actually what I train our sales team at realty.com on. And it really comes down to, it's a cold call, right? But we want to transition that into a warm relationship as soon as humanly possible. And typically the call, you make or break within the first 10 to 15 seconds. That's where you're really going to face the most sales resistance or built up, no, I'm not interested. And so when you ask somebody, hey, is this Jacob? Immediately what you're telling them is, you don't know me and I don't know you. Like, do I have the right number? So I always train, you always want to start that call very friendly, as if you're calling your best friend. Like, hey, Jake, this is Donnie. I was just calling on behalf of whatever, right? So I agree with that 110%. Yeah.
Yeah, and something else I realized when I'm in that call, I always feel like I'm moving at 100 miles an hour. I'm sure same with you and same with the whole company. In real estate, I've kind of been trained my whole career, like, go as fast as possible. You move at the speed of sales. Like, you have to go, 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 go. But what I've realized is when I'm talking to clients, if I'm rushing into it, if I'm like, hi, this is Jacob, I'm calling you because blah, 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 like, I don't know if it's true or if it just exists in my mind. But that, I think, makes them feel like I'm not confident in what I'm talking about. But if I kind of slow down, hey, this is Jacob with Referral Mate. I'm reaching out because I just saw your information come through. And if I kind of take it down a notch, they feel more comfortable because I'm not rushing through everything. I know I keep asking you if you agree with that, but is that what you train on too? Or is it just, going through these and follow up?
No, I agree with that as well. And one big emphasis that I would put on that, and as anybody that gets into sales when you're new, you have a tendency to ramble. Right. Yeah. And what I train agents, what I train my own sales team on is, it's not the person that's talking that's controlling the conversation. It's the one asking the questions and intently listening. Right. Like, I could direct a conversation with the seller simply by asking them a question, and I'm going to direct them to that particular topic. It all really comes down to relationships. And I know that's an abused term in this industry, like build relationships. But what that really means. So if we're talking about scripts, as an example, you could sit and master the scripts, but if I'm just trying to build a relationship with you, naturally I'm going to want to understand what's got you looking to move. When do you want to move? How much are you expecting for your property? Those are all obviously important things to you. And naturally, those are the same things that are included on the best scripts in the world, right? So it really just comes down to building that relationship and trying to meet the consumer where they're at.
We're on the same page with everything, it seems. Every time I talk to you, we just say, I agree, and then add to it. But I completely agree, of course. And something that has helped me a lot, especially, I'm getting more into like the cash offer side of things and, understanding this game. But even at listing appointments, every time I would go to somebody's house, I would think, I guess originally I didn't think this, but after a while, like after a couple appointments, I've realized, like, I'm a stranger. I'm in their living room. I'm telling them all the things wrong with their house that they have to fix before I could sell it. I'm telling them how much I cost, and as a realtor, we know like it's tens of thousands of dollars, and in some markets, it's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So these sellers, they have a stranger in their house, They're telling them what's wrong with their house, and they find out it's going to cost them potentially tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. And I always think going into this, I try to take people out of the now and put them into the what's next. And the reason I say that on this call is because with these leads that you guys have, they're looking for cash offers. So going there, A, you're going to have your cash offer, which we taught you in the entire course. But B, I've had the most success getting people into the what's next. Yes, there's a stranger in your house. Yes, I'm trying to make money off of you. Yes, your home needs work. But where are you going next? Oh, you're going to Tampa because your daughter got a job there. That's amazing. I've been to Tampa before. I love it. And that's something that's really helped me, is getting them into like the next step. Based on everything we've talked about, I'm sure you agree. But I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, I mean, you're selling the dream at the end of the day, right? So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into selling a property, and it can be incredibly taxing for a homeowner, let alone if it's a homeowner that you don't know, is not in your sphere of influence or whatever, as you put it, a complete stranger. And so a lot of it comes down to, again, selling that dream, but also giving them the confidence that you have the buyers and everything necessary to get them to that dream, right? Get them to that dream as quickly as humanly possible and at the terms most agreeable to them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've kind of nailed a lot of this so far. But switching gears slightly, as everybody knows by now, you generate hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of leads per year. What are like the best steps to actually convert them? Because like you said, there's people that are closing 20%, there's people that are closing 1% or 2%. And yes, of course, the follow-up is important, but other things matter too. So what are the hacks, the tricks that really work well, other than what we talked about before, having a decent outline of a script and following up?
It comes down to putting the consumer first in every regard. I'm going to go through a few different ways and what I mean by that, but that's what it boils down to. And so when we talk about cash offer leads, we have people raising their hand saying, I want a cash offer my property. Now, all of us as agents know that a cash offer is not going to get them the true value of their home, and only makes sense for a very, very small percentage of people, right? Some that are distressed, some that need to get out of Dodge and just like the convenience factor. But what a lot of agents do and go wrong is they immediately try to convince that seller over the phone before they've ever stepped foot and met them, hey, you don't want a cash offer. Cash offer is going to be 70%. You don't want that. Why would they listen to you? They have no clue who you are. You've built no rapport. They don't trust you. Let's be frank, right?
Yeah.
At least until we get an appointment set. And so it has to center around the consumer and meeting them where they're at. First conversation I have with these sellers, it's not telling them you don't want a cash offer. It's, you want a cash offer? Great. I've got a ton of investors that I can help connect you with. Tell me a little bit about the property. What's got you looking at moving? Again, trying to understand, what dream am I trying to sell? Do they have a kid that's graduating? We're retiring, moving to Florida, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. Once we get to the consumer's home, then we can walk them through options. The power behind these types of leads comes from the fact that it allows agents to do what they already should be doing and taking a consultative approach. As an agent, we have a due diligence to the client to try to get them the best terms, right? Whether that's listing with us or doing any other number of things. For whatever reason, agents have gotten away from that. And when they set an appointment, they give that seller two options, which is list with me or don't list with me. That's it. And so you end up spending an hour talking about, I'm so great at marketing. Here's all the stuff I'm going to do for you.
I do
right?
videos and photos like
right.
10% of other agents.
Yeah, exactly. And so I always like to quote Sharon Srivatsa. I don't know if you know Sharon or not. He's a former president of Real, super bright guy. I love touching on this. It's really the best way that I can highlight these leads, which is proof over promise. You're not telling them that you can bring them a buyer. You're actually bringing them a buyer. So when I go on that appointment, I'm bringing them a cash offer. I'm showing them that, hey, I've never met you, never stepped foot in your house, but I already have somebody that's willing to give you an all cash offer, no contingencies.
Yep. Now, that loops all the way back to what we talked about before. You know how to get it now. It's Open Door, OfferPad, or those local guys. It's not rocket science, but sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so you get the cash offer, you get your foot in the door. Once your foot's in the door, we know that statistically speaking, about 95% of people that transact with the cash offer leads, at least for us, they're going to end up listing their home. They're not going to take that cash offer. We're not going to spend our time talking about why they shouldn't, right? We're going to show them. Again, proof over promise. Here's the numbers. Now, when you segue into the listing as an option, it's so much easier because rather than saying, I can get you a buyer, it's, while the terms are not what you're looking for, I was able to find you an all-cash buyer, and ideally you want to schedule the appointment the following day in less than 24 hours, right? So I was able to find you an all-cash buyer in less than 24 hours. Imagine what we're going to be able to do when we work together and I have the opportunity to truly market your home to my database of whatever. I'm a big fan of literally printing out and showing your database, your CRM, how many buyers you have of 10,000, 15,000, whatever you have, right? Imagine what we're going to be able to do. That idea, proof over promise, that is really what it comes down to. Meeting the consumer where they're at and showing them that you can really get them what they're after.
Could not agree more. I mean, something I've realized in conversations like this, I always talk at a really high level, like we are right now. But there's also agents that are listening to this that don't have that massive CRM. They don't have that huge Instagram following. I have like 1,400 followers on Instagram, and probably 1,350 of them are from my childhood. So I don't have that. I have a decent sized CRM, a couple thousand people, but I've been doing this for 7 years.
Yeah.
My Instagram is nothing crazy, so I don't get to brag about that. But something for those agents that are listening that are newer, it's very, very easy to go into your MLS and just print that data out. Show how many active buyers are in the market. Show how many homes sold in the last let's say 30 days or 24 hours if you're in a really hot market. You basically have to take every single piece of advantage that you have into these meetings. You could bring a cash offer. With that cash offer, you could also have the estimated cost sheet. You could say, hey, if you sell at $400,000, this is what you walk away with. If we list at $500,000, this is what you walk away with. So it's not all about having all the answers. It's just showing them the options. And like you said, 95% of the time, they're not going to go for the cash offer, but that's all right because you have the systems for them. And even if they do choose the cash offer, as we said, a lot of the times you get commission on the sale to one of the larger companies or the listing on the back end.
Yep. And that's what allows you to take that consultative approach. Like when I am coaching on these and you get that appointment set, you're not trying to discourage them from the cash offer and encourage them to list. It's truly, here are the options I have available for you. Let's talk about your particular needs, right? Your situation, and let's see what makes the most sense for you. If that's the cash offer, great. I'm more than happy to facilitate that. If it's the listing, great. We can talk about next steps for that. It's much less salesy than going in and saying, I'm the best marketer ever, and here's why you should choose me as your agent.
Yeah, because every agent is saying that. Let's say they talk with 4 agents because of this. Because like we said before, they're not just going to one individual website most of the time. So that means there's going to be multiple people reaching out to them, multiple agents. They're all going to call and they're all going to say, hey, you don't want a cash offer. They're going to give you 70 cents on the dollar and I'm the best. I do Instagram videos and I sold 27 houses last year. Everybody's saying that. These people want to see cash offers, so that's what you should present them. In addition to that, you could also show who you are, what you do, and how you could do it for them. So again, we're completely on the same page. And like we said before, these aren't all just, beat up homes in the corner or homes that have a ton of damage. It's, better than everybody. This is almost every single seller in America thinks, oh, maybe I could just do cash. It'll be quicker. I'll be good. So that encompasses every home. But could you tell us, whatever comes to mind right away, like a highlight, like one of the biggest sales that you guys have ever seen come through that has closed, because I'm sure it's well into the millions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would have to go back and look for sure. I know we've had one that was just under 10 million, I think. It might have been 10 million. But yeah, that highlights it more than anything else, that these are not your distressed sellers. And you would think somebody that owns a $10 million property, why would they be requesting a cash offer? Surely to God they know somebody. But that's not always the case. I mean, we have people in Arizona and California that get multi-million dollar listings every day from these types of leads.
Yeah, and again, it's not always the people that need the immediate financial help. Maybe somebody inherited a property. Maybe they got fired from a job and they're just done with Texas or they're done with California and they're like, just get me out of here. I can't stand it anymore. And they're like, what's the easiest out? Cash offer. Let's see. Now I'm going to talk to an agent that tells me I don't want a cash offer, but I do want a cash offer. So now what? So that's good to know, because a lot of the times, again, I know I said this 5 times, but it's always things with a cash offer. It has to be the beat up home on, not the greatest street, and nobody wants those leads anyways. But as you just said, California, Arizona, Texas, million dollar
Yep.
listing.
There's a ton of people that we see in particular in like Scottsdale, Arizona. I've seen a bunch of those. We have one right now. I think I want to say it's like a $2.9 million property or something like that. But the person that owns it is a super private person. Right, so they requested a cash offer because they didn't want a ton of showings. They didn't want people coming through their home, and so that particular agent went out there, and now they basically have like a pocket listing to where they're trying to find them a buyer for that property. So they have the listing, it's just not on the open market. So there's all kinds of scenarios out there, but again, to reiterate to your point, not all of them are beat up distressed sellers. Actually, a very small subset of them actually fall into that category.
Yeah, I feel like the homes that fall into that category will usually get foreclosed on or just completely abandoned, and they just don't care. So they just
Yep.
kind of, they might also be calling that local investor, but they kind of just let them go. So that's something I really wanted to drive home is to all the agents listening to this. These are your normal sellers. They're just looking for an option in the beginning, and if you could provide that to them and then show your expertise, you're either going to get a commission by selling it to a cash buyer, or you're going to get a commission by listing the property. Either way, I think it's a win-win, and I'm sure you have hundreds of stories of teams that are probably 100% reliant on these leads that are crushing it.
Yeah, and another little tidbit for your audience, Chris Craddock. I don't know if you know Chris or not. He's super successful agent. He's been a partner of ours for many years, but he has an investment sector, so he invests in these fix and flips, all of that good stuff. And what he always says about real estate agents, the worst thing about real estate agents is that we don't buy our own product. There are so many agents that don't invest themselves. And so I will encourage every single one of you, if not now, get to a point to where you can invest in these properties yourselves, because it is the distressed properties, the ones that are 150,000, 100,000, whatever, that are the best investments. You can net 50, 60,000 on these easily. I see it happen all day, every day, and it's always those properties that are like right around 150 or below. It's not the big $1 million properties. Those tend to go the listing route, right? But there's a ton of opportunity. The partners that can wear both hats when it comes to the cash offer leads, that can invest themselves or can list it, those are the ones that really crush it. Not saying you can't have success using OfferPad Open Door. You certainly can, but the ROI on an investment deal is astronomically higher than what it would be from just a standard listing.
And with that, what my brain goes to right away is, okay, I'm a brand new agent. I don't have. When could I ever get my hands on $200,000 to buy this house and then another 50 to put into it? You don't need to do that. I'm sure you're familiar with hard money loans. That's basically just local rich people that trust you, that have a contract. They act as the bank. And if you have a deal, they understand they're not betting on you, they're betting on the deal. So very easy way to find those hard money lenders. Go into any city that you live in, Cleveland, Allentown, Austin, type in Austin real estate investors. Make a post saying, I have an amazing deal looking for a hard money lender, and I guarantee you your phone will explode. It's that simple. It's really not rocket science. It's not rocket science, it's real estate.
Yep. It's very intimidating at first because you're dealing with a very large number to, most people. If it's several $100,000 or even a $50,000, $60,000 piece of real estate, it's very intimidating because you think, I could lose my money. That's the risk that you get into when it comes to investing in anything. And one of the things that I say, even when people are buying leads from us or doing any sort of marketing, you have to get comfortable losing money. That's what marketing is. You are paying money that's going out the door in hopes of a future return. You've got to get very comfortable living in that space, and the people that are super comfortable living in that space are the ones that just absolutely blow up and scale.
Agreed. And, personally for me, where I need to be doing that is not only on investment properties myself, but also in the content I do. I'm an open book. For example, I always try to put myself in that brand new agent's shoes. And even looking at the camera here, everybody who's watching this can see Donnie's camera is very good. And I look like a ghost on my camera. So it's not about being an expert. It's just about starting, whether it's a podcast or talking about real estate or getting with these investors. Just start, get into it. You're not going to know your camera is terrible until you're on with somebody with a great camera. So that's, I think super important is just starting and going for it. But in closing, obviously, you guys are plugged in with Referral Mate. We're partners on the platform, and a lot of I call them your overflow business. Whether there's not an agent in the market who wants that deal, or just an agent that isn't in that market that's connected with you guys. That's how Referral Mate works with Realty.com. But for all the agents who are like, hey, I have the skills, I'm not scared to do it, I could go for this. How do they get plugged into all of this where they don't have to wait for it to come on Referral Mate and they could just get plugged directly into you guys? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so a few things. Number one, they can go to realty.com/advertise, fill out their information. Our sales team will get in touch with them for your particular audience. I don't know if you have a place to plug it in the comments or title or something. I'm more than happy to provide my direct booking link. If somebody wants to meet directly with myself, I'm more than happy to help.
Awesome. And out of curiosity, I know the scale is different for everybody. I'm imagining based on how many leads you want. But what does that look like? Is it always pay at closing? Is it always upfront? I imagine you guys have some sort of blended model where maybe agents could choose. But what does that look like for the agent listening now that's like, maybe I do want to try this?
Yeah, generally it'll be a pay up front model. There's several different options available though. A lot of it depends on your brokerage because we are partnered with a number of larger brokerages that provide discounted services, and some brokerages even provide our services for free. So definitely look into that. But typically, we have everything from as little as $25 a month. You can get access to these seller leads all the way to our top market exclusive plans, which usually start around 500 to 1,000, and we'll scale from there. But again, $25 a month to get seller leads that are title verified, seeking cash offers. That's tough to beat. So we have a plan for just about anybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, even if it's only $25 or $70 a month, you can get the reps in. You might not be perfect in the beginning, but before you know it, you'll be at those market exclusive plans where you have a team under you and you're absolutely crushing it. So in closing, obviously, thank you so much for all of this. But if you had one last little piece of advice for agents diving into this side of real estate, this side of cash offers, I know we covered a lot, but what is that main thing that if you could just drive home for agents, what would that be?
Get comfortable being consistent with the boring stuff. That really reiterates everything. As agents, really in general, as a species, we want to try to find the path of least resistance, right? There's nothing special or no golden ticket in terms of converting these leads or scaling your business. It's doing the mundane work day in and day out. Whether you decide that you're going to door knock, you're going to cold call, or you're going to buy leads from us, whatever it is, you need to tell yourself, I'm doing this consistently, bare minimum, for 6 to 12 months, right? And most agents they kind of squirm when you tell them that. It doesn't happen overnight, especially in real estate. The average pipeline is about 6 to 12 months. And unfortunately, I see way too many agents, especially the ones that go out of business, they give up way too soon. They'll do something for 30, 60, 90 days, didn't see a return, on to the next shiny object. Stay consistent with the boring stuff.
I agree. And if you do that, not to toot my own horn, but if you do that, you could build a very big business very quickly. Just, again, not to toot my own horn, out of all the EXP agents in Pennsylvania last year, based on the numbers I could see, I was the top producing agent out of approximately 2,000 other agents in the state. And that's not to say how amazing I am. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the numbers aren't completely accurate from the leaderboards. But it came from doing the boring work. And if we could drive one thing home, I agree with you on that. It's all in doing the boring work. The flashy stuff doesn't really help. Everything looks great. You jump and jump and jump. And before you know it, you're out of money and you're just kind of restarting. So completely agree. Thank you so much, Donnie, for joining us. And I'm sure we'll have you back for the next one.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. More than happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you.